ho, ho, ho. Merry Christmas, early Christmas. It's actually Christmas Eve by the time I'm recording this. Hello everyone, Gunter here, and welcome to another episode of Gunter Talks. No, seriously. Alright, well, if that wasn't a weird opening to an episode, I don't know what was. But at the time of the recording, this is actually Christmas Eve, and I know the episode will be uploaded tomorrow on Christmas Day. So, without further ado, I just want to go up and say Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to everyone listening, and to everyone who is not listening. I still wish everyone the safest and best holiday out there, especially with the year that we had this past year. I think it's time to try to reposition ourselves and try to get ourselves up back onto our feet. But speaking of which, we're going to talk about today's topic for this stream, and it happens to be holiday classics. Holiday classics, whether it be like traditions slash like movies, games, stuff like that. But for the most part, I think we're going to just be talking about movies. We think we're just going to talk about movies as far as just overall, just what I personally have watched, and see how that aligns with other people have watched anything similar, or I'm just probably a super minority in certain cases, but I don't know. We'll just have to see. I feel like I'm not part of the minority at some certain spots. I think it's the majority of people that seen most of the stuff that I've seen and stuff like that. But we're just gonna talk about holiday traditions as far as what to watch, what you would do, and all that type of stuff. So why don't we just start straight into movies, because I feel like that's a lot bigger topic than just talking about what you do as far as like opening gifts and whatnot. Because I do have a small tradition about that I do want to try to keep, but I haven't been able to do it this particular year because of how crazy everything was. Excuse me. So, movies that I've watched and my personal favorites. My personal favorite type of movie I like to watch whenever I get the chance, as far as holiday classic, is of course the Charlie Brown Christmas special. Excuse me. The Charlie Brown Christmas special. Basically, I believe the very first animated special for the Peanuts comic strip. I believe. It definitely feels like it. But yeah, the very first animated Peanuts special. No more than an hour. And it is, I feel like everyone has watched it. Oh, my voice, sorry. But I feel like everyone has watched it. I feel like everyone has been able to enjoy it on TV, enjoy it in like Blu-ray, if they ever, I think they sell it on Blu-ray somewhere. Watch it on DVD like I do. I have it on DVD. Or more importantly, on VHS. Because back when I was a boy, I watched this on recorded VHSs. Just try to catch the special on the TV and record it on the VHS. And boom! Got myself a classic Peanuts special right there to watch anytime that I want. Didn't have to wait until Christmas or nothing. And that was a weird fun time, but now I have it on DVD, so I can watch it a lot more often than I could now. Yeah, let's talk about why I personally think it's special, because it depicts a character that I slightly forcefully related to. Like, here's the thing: me being a weird blank slate for the most part of my childhood, meaning that I grew attached to the main character slash protagonist of a lot of media, like a whole lot of media. So that led to me just wanting to just be the main character a lot. And yeah, it's just basically a self insert. And one of those self inserts was me trying to be Charlie Brown. And I'm actually pretty much there as far as the look, as for because I am bald now, and I do try to regularly shave my head to the baldness that I can get. But yeah, but yeah, as far as I feel like nowadays I have slightly similar things of Charlie Brown. There's some things I kind of relate to him back in the day, whereas it's not that I wasn't popular. It's not the fact that it's like he wasn't popular. He was popular. He just kind of was a sad sack about certain holidays because it would seem like it would get more people attention, like attention to more people, more so than him. And I feel like it wasn't really going his way, and that's how he's kind of down on his luck. And that's kind of how I was. I wasn't really. I don't think I was down on my luck. I think I was just trying to go with the flow, and never really truly bothered me unless like it physically did, which I don't think it did. I don't think it did. But I felt somewhat similar in that regard. And it was a fun thing to just like see like this guy who's kind of like a sad sack just figure out how to get by and do the best he can. And that's kind of what I took out of the Charlie Brown like movie specials and all of those stuff. It's like trying to do the best with what you got. And there are times where it's just going to be big slash disappointments and or just something that it just kind of sucks that you're living in or something like that. But if you're able to try to find ways to get through it in a way that's comfortable and at your own pace, then it could turn the weird, bad, awful stuff in your life into a pretty decent life, to where it's not the worst thing that could ever happen. You can turn it into a big accomplishment in the end. So that's what I really took out of those specials, and it was fun. It was fun. Yeah, it was. The Christmas special was one of my favorites as far as the holiday specials of Charlie Brown, because for one, the music in the beginning, where the choir children singing "Christmas Time Is Here," and that literally became one of the Christmas staple songs that you would ever hear. And it's a good song. It's a really good eerie type song that doesn't feel Christmas at first until like you see how the beginning of the song just opens up with the snowflakes, and just like, oh, okay, that's that's actually a Christmas song. It gets into the spirit like after that half second of doubt, it goes like, oh, okay, yeah, that's Christmas. That's Christmas. Doesn't feel like it at first, but it's Christmas. It's a Christmas song. Then after that, just all the different like, just a different type of back and forths of the characters, especially like Lucy with most of the cast, and what was it? Like I said, the interactions with the characters and them just working off each other, and the fact that they actually had child actors or children that was not the greatest actors, but they were still children just reading lines, and we had the director just try to make it to where like somewhat convincing, but you know that they were the first time ever doing something like this, so it's not. It's like it's real, but it's not like Oscar worthy. it's a nice in between to where it really comes down and it feels a little bit more relatable than you would think. And it's just like, oh, okay, and it's very stilted, and it has some deadpan moments, but it just has some has some stuff to be like, ah, well, I can see a kid saying that sometime a little bit. And it has this charm to it that it's just like you just can't stop listening to it, unless that type of speaking really irritates you. Which is, well, uh, uh, the thing about the um, the thing about the special was nice is that I think I already said this a lot. It was just basically saying taking a bad situation and making it work with however you can do it. Uh, so I guess I can just I guess move on to another Christmas movie that I like to watch, um, which I haven't watched in a long time. I haven't watched in a long time. It is I think it was Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, um, stop motion. Oops, excuse me, stop motion special. And I was just recently been saw on Twitter some clips of it, and I remember watching that a long time, and I remember like really just getting into it, just seeing like how the claymation slash stop motion characters just move around, and I was fascinated by that. Um, but it has been a long time since I've seen a movie, so I don't really know. So I don't really know a lot of big parts of the film. I just been recently just saw a clip of one of the. I do know there's an elf that kind of wanted to be a dentist. He didn't really want to make toys, I think, and I think this one big elf dude came in saying that came in just yelling like, "Why aren't you in elf practice?" Um, while he was pretending to help a doll fix his teeth, I believe. Um, and yeah, that's the only thing I remember. I saw a clip of that being memed to like all get out. Um, but yeah, it was uh, there was one big part of the film that that got stuck in my head. Every time I saw it, it was like this one scene always pops up. Um, it was about, I think, a miner slash goal. Just like, I think it's a miner because he had a pickaxe, or a hitchhiker or something. I don't know, but it was a dude with a red beard. Um, I believe like a blue coat, a blue winter coat, and he would go off and he sings a song. I think Silver and Gold. I would sing it, but I don't know if it's copyrighted, so I won't. Um, but yeah, it was a song that he was singing that would get stuck in my head. Only like the beginning part of it though. But then I knew it was like a running gag he would do. He would go and see a patch of like something. He would just immediately dig at it. He pick up the little thing. He just take a lick like. He just stares at it for a second and be like, nothing. That's all I remember from that movie. And literally, I barely remember. I knew there was a Yeti that was involved, and I don't know really what he did, but I know that the the Adult Swim show Robot Chicken did a like a little spoof of that particular claymation type of uh, holiday special, because it went and it talked about like a crime scene where Santa got frozen in a block of ice, and there people getting interviewed, and they had that elf, one of the elves. He's like, it's a bad scene, man. It was crazy trying to smuggle all these the drugs and stuff like that. And talking about this one scene, this one scene where the the Yeti just went and tried to smuggle pounds of cocaine, I guess, in his belly or something. And all of a sudden, I guess it burst into his burst into his stomach, and he started going crazy. And it cuts to the elf being interviewed. He's like, "You ever see a yeti with 1,000 bags of condom of coke burst in his belly?" And it just cuts to like the yeti just going insane, killing everybody in the airport with crazy eyes. And it just cuts back to the elf. He's like, "It's a bad scene, man." Geez, that's the only thing I really remember from that special was the silver and gold, the thing he would do to try to find the gold to see if it was real or not, and he'd be saying like nothing, and then the robot chicken spoof of it. Well, yeah, 15 minutes in and I already talked about 2 specials. I guess that's a record. I guess we can fit one more in there. Elf. I recently rewatched Elf in its entirety. I can't speak. I rewatched Elf again, and that was more cringe than I ever thought I would ever. Yeah, there was moments where I literally had to turn my head away, being like, "Oh, I can't believe." Like, I watched this as a kid. I watched it a lot. It was 2000, I think. It's between 2005 and 2002, I think. It's around that time where the early 2000s movies were in the big cringe phase of like do whatever and try to get laughs by just like kind of like the uncomfortableness, I guess. The uncomfortable comedy is, I guess, like pretty high up in the early 2000s movies, mainly the bad ones. Though there are some early 2000 movies that can show like a decent movie within, a decent movie like Elf. Like Elf, its story is very very weird and like shouldn't be taken seriously. Of course, because it's a well, I guess I can talk about the whole movie since it's like engraved in my head. So if for those of you who haven't not seen this 15 plus old movie, I guess I suggest you get out of this podcast segment for the next 5 to 10 minutes that I'm going to talk about this movie. All right, so it's a story about a baby who happens to land on the Santa's workshop. How does that happen, you may ask? Well, we see in the opening a cute baby being put into the crib by a nursing home owner or one of the helpers. And lo and behold, Santa comes in and goes in and tries to put the presents in the tree. And the baby sees Santa and decides to actually find a way to lower the crib cage so he could get out from a pretty high fall, no doubt, to where it is like, how did the baby, first of all, knew how to get the latch off and also not be able to make any sound and not really injure himself to fall off of the crib. Anyway, I'm overthinking about that a little bit. But the baby managed to escape the crib and sneak into Santa's bag, and Santa comes and brings the bag home, and Santa's like, "Hey, we finished Christmas. The deed is done. Now to work for next year and stuff." And then all of a sudden, you see the bag move, and it's like, "Wait, what the heck? My bag never did that." And another weird thing is that why didn't the baby move around before? But whatever. So the baby moves, it crawls out of the bag, and Santa doesn't know what to do with it. And then one of the elves, who's happened to be like a sort of narrator, sort of like mainly through like the first quarter of the movie, just talking about the baby and how he grows up. and he takes him in. The old elf takes him in, and he has a son now, a son that is a human that grows literally 10 times as well, not 10 times. I would say like 3 times as big as a normal elf. And there's also these, so it turns out to bring in the size difference jokes of him trying to fit in a very tiny little tiny life of elves. And he grows up into a big Will Ferral, and his name is Buddy. And I will commend Will Ferral going in at being like a super childlike, like, cause he is a child. He like, as far as he can play a childlike character like really well. So that's why I guess most of the time he's typecast as those types of characters. But for the most part, yeah, I do commend Will Ferrell to go by going all in this role. And I'll explain how he does that in a couple of bits. So what was it? Buddy grows up in an elf life, and as he actually grows into being more of an adult, trying to make toys, he can't make them as fast as the elves because of but I guess he's too big and he doesn't have the power of elves to make like 900 toys in certain seconds. And yeah, it's a rough time for Buddy. And then sometime later he realizes that he's not really an elf. He's actually a human. He's shocked by it that it's been hidden away from him for so long. And he gets upset, but then his father tells him the truth. And he's saying he was adopted. He was put in the orphanage. As a kid, he snuck in here and all that blah, blah, blah. Buddy decides that he wants to go to where his biological father is to meet him for the first time. So he goes to New York City. He goes to New York City, and he has a rough time trying to find his way through the city. And that leads into some pretty big cringe moments, like he goes into this one store that says world's best cup of coffee, like a tagline, because restaurants have to have some type of hook to get people in and say world's best cup of coffee, even though that's entirely not true, because I don't think anything is something that's the world's best to satisfy multiple parts of the UN. Anyway, I'm overthinking that. But it said world's best cup of coffee. Buddy walks in, he sees a sign and just bursts into the store. It's like, congratulations, awesome, world's best cup of coffee. You guys are amazing. You did it. Okay, see ya. And he just awkwardly leaves. He awkwardly leaves the store. And yeah, that was a fun little moment. There's a good chunk of moments of literally, it is a fish out of water story, but it's gone to the point. It has some funny moments, like I said before, but then there are some cringe type moments where there are a lot of yelling is involved and a lot of childlike behavior is involved, and it's kind of weird. It's kind of weird, but it's something you can stomach through for the most part, and yeah. So we find out that his dad is basically a Scrooge, a Grump, a guy who's not very humane, as far as like, he's not like an evil person. He's just like slightly corrupted in his views and stuff like that. And Buddy wants to see if he can be able to reunite with his father, and it's a tough task because he's so focused on this job. Yeah, this trope, we know this. later on, after he gets like kicked out of his father's office, meet him for the first time, he sees a toy store. And another scene, a good scene, is him seeing the toy store, just walking across the street, and then all of a sudden, off frame, he gets hit by a taxi while trying to cross the road, and it's just like really convincing, like hit hit stop. And that was a crazy stunt for that. And there was another scene later on where a buddy almost gets hit by a car, and it actually looks very convincing. Like, oh, I forgot how real that looked. Um, but yeah, he goes into this mall. I should say he goes to the mall, and there's this Christmas section that he like looks and he eyes over, and he's like, "Oh, not bad, not bad." And then this store manager sees Buddy and thinks he's a worker lost, which this is funny. He uh, I don't know why he would not think that he would. I guess I don't know. Different time. It's just convenient stuff to move the plot along to have the comedy more funny. Um, and yeah, he ends up working, quote unquote working. I wouldn't say working. He starts doing the thing over there at the mall, and he meets a girl that who sounds like she could be a golf girl, but doesn't look like she would be a golf girl. She has bright blonde hair, not so much dark clothing, but the way she speaks, it sounds like she could have been a golf girl in high school, by the way she speaks. But yeah, it's basically her not being into the Christmas spirit, while Buddy is literally full of Christmas spirit. So it's the opposites attract type of mentality, love story type thing. Um, but that doesn't really the love interest type building stuff doesn't really happen on except towards like the back half of the movie. But we had to get to the part where Buddy loses his job because he finds out that Santa was coming to the job, and he was like, "Oh, I know Santa, and he's like, let's just do your work, buddy, do your work." And then the day comes where Santa, quote unquote Santa, comes in and is basically doing the mask. Comes in, is like, "Ho ho ho! I'm the mall Santa. I'm here to talk to kids and do my job and get paid." And then Buddy comes in, is like, "Hey Santa, wait, you're not Santa." And then he just goes up in his face. It's like, "You're not Santa. You're ruining the kids' dreams," and stuff like that. And then ends up ripping off his mask, exposing him like he's not real, and then gets into a fist fight. Which I honestly didn't remember how much that Buddy just gets pummeled in this movie. He gets pummeled and ragdolled by so many things. Raccoons, Mall Santa, Peter Dinklage, which I'll get to later on in the movie. But yeah, so he gets beat up and he quote unquote gets fired, even though I don't think he was technically not even supposed to be working there. Um, but later on, we find out the father finds out a lot more that he is in fact his son, and you get a cameo with Jon Favreau, who happens to be a director. I didn't really realize this, but he actually was the director of this movie. So Jon Favreau was the doctor doing the DNA test, and which is funny is this kid's looks like a kid's little kid's doctor's office. Which was kind of funny. Um, and then he tells the father that, yeah, Buddy's your son, and you got to take him in your house. And we see that he has a new wife, and he got remarried, and he has a son, and a younger son, and he's, I think, in middle school. And what was? Oh, and he takes him in the house, and they get weirded out by his love of Christmas, for a little bit, and his love of sweets. Which, by the way, this is what I was talking about before with Will Ferral being like going full in commitment into his role, because this dude eats the craziest things. Like, I remember watching this thing as a kid. Like, I eat a lot of crazy junk food, and I don't think I can ever top that. I don't think I will ever top that. Cause here's the craziest thing I got. So he eats spaghetti. He says it's missing something, and he said it was missing something. So he's like, "Do you have any syrup?" And he's like, "No, we don't need. You don't need syrup. It's spaghetti." And he's like, "Hey, I think I have some pocket syrup in my elf sleeve." And he pulls it out and he drenches the spaghetti. And I don't think it had sauce. I don't think it had red sauce on it or any sauce. It could be just like a vinaigrette or something. I don't know. But he pours the syrup on it and he just eats it. And I'm like, oh, dude, I can't. And then it escalates that further, where if you have a weak stomach, I suggest you not listen to this little part of this segment of the podcast, where he takes a bowl of spaghetti, and he takes a bowl of spaghetti and he pours syrup on it. Then after that, he throws in M&Ms, and then he throws in some I think chocolate cookies and cream, like Oreos, I think. Put Oreos in there, smushes it up with his hands, his actual hands. He puts in like chocolate Pop-Tarts, crushed up chocolate Pop-Tarts in there. And I think even more. Oh wait, I think it's chocolate syrup. He put chocolate syrup on top of the actual syrup. And he takes a big bite out of it. And then all of a sudden he went and got some, I don't know what else he got. I think that was it. And I may be remembering this wrong, but all I know, he actually took a big giant handful with his hands and stuffed it in his face, and he only took 2 or 3 bites of it. And I'm like, oh jeez. And they filmed it uncomfortably long to sit through him eating those 2 or 3 bites, and he gives us big sigh of like it was supposed to be. I know it was supposed to be a blissful type thing where he kind of he was in heaven of him eating all those all that concoction of spaghetti sweet weird nastiness, but it looks like he was just oh god. It sounded like he was oh god. That's what that facial expression is, because it didn't look happy. It did not look happy from what I was seeing, but yeah. But anyways, again, full kudos to Will Ferral in that big commitment of a role he did. And then later on, the romantic subplot happens, and the girl and Buddy seem to be hitting it off pretty well, and then eventually the son gets to hit it off, or not hit it off, be more friends with Buddy, and everything's going pretty well. He's being friends with everyone except for the father, who is still more focused into the work instead of his actual family, to the point where he has this giant big business meeting, and then Buddy comes in and interrupts it, and then he gets mad. He just yells at Buddy, just stop ruining my life and whatnot, and get out of here and stuff. And Buddy gets sad. He did a bad thing, but he just didn't know. So he leaves, and then we find out that he literally just ran away. He was standing at near the the Brooklyn Bridge? It looked like the Brooklyn Bridge. I don't know. And then the father finds out from his son that Buddy ran away. He's like, oh, I didn't mean him to actually leave the city, so I gotta find him. But then all of a sudden, his like the dad's boss would be like, no, you sit down and you do this pitch or you're fired. And he's like, all right, well, I guess I'm fired. I'm gonna find him. And he slowly finds the value of his family. And yeah, and then Buddy, as he was about to run away, notices Santa. He knows his good actual Santa falling from the sky, because as he turns into New York City, he realizes there's not enough Christmas spirit to be keeping the sleigh afloat, because his sleigh runs on the power of Christmas spirit. And so yeah, Buddy finds Santa crashed into the Central Park, and they get reunited. And Santa's like, "Please help me fix my sleigh." And he's like, "All right, cool." Goes in and finds parts that he needs to put back the sleigh together. And then while doing so, Buddy runs up to his father. They make amends, and he's like, all right, I gotta go and help Santa. He's like, what? And then he just leaves. He just leaves to go and help Santa. And then everyone happens to see something crash from the sky onto the Central Park, and there's a crowd of people gathering around saying like, wait, what happened? To a point where a news reporter is like, okay, something fell from the sky and we're trying to figure out what it was. And what was it? So there's a big commotion. The girlfriend sees what's happening on TV, and she goes down there to see if she can help Buddy. Buddy comes in, and he helps fix the sleigh and tries to escape. And then these crazy like New York New York park police with these all black horses and all black uniforms and masks and stuff start chasing down, or I think they're like park rangers, like very super dark park rangers, and they just go and chase down. They just went and chased down Santa. And and there's a pretty decent line. It's like, why are they following us? What? Hey, they should know. They should help Santa. You know. He's like, I put them on the naughty list, and they never forgave me. So let's get out of here. And that's a pretty good reason for them to chase. So they try to leave. But it's kind of hard because they didn't have any Christmas spirit in the sleigh, so it's kind of hard for them to take off. And the girlfriend comes in, and realizing that there's a commotion going on, I guess by the power of like intuition, she starts singing "Santa Claus is Coming to Town," and after that she would start singing. And then eventually people started looking at her like crazy. Then all of a sudden they're like, whatever. They start singing with her. And that slowly starts to build up the spirit of Christmas to help power the sleigh. And Dad's trying to sing, but he doesn't really get into it as much. This sounds like dude sing, and then the dad starts singing. And right when he was singing, the sleigh starts to pilot it up and lift off in the air, and then everyone sees it take off, and then everyone sees Buddy with the sleigh, and it's like, oh wow, it's real. And then a news reporter just looks up at the sky, and then they have a word from inside the studio. He's like, well, I guess we'll never know what happened. Oh, I guess we'll never know what happened at the park, so we're just going to keep that a secret. So, yeah, all's well that ends well. Buddy and the girlfriend have a daughter years later. The dad happens to spend more time with his family and managed to make a book about Buddy's adventure, quote unquote adventure, called Elf, which is the name of the movie. And yeah, and then Buddy and his girlfriend slash wife now decides to visit the North Pole. They actually visit the North Pole and sees the stepdad, the older elf, who hasn't really aged at all. So that's funny. And that's the end of the movie. That is the end of the movie. So it looks like I've been talking for like 20 minutes about this movie. My big synopsis of it. And yeah, it has some pretty decent cringe moments. And I will say it was still a nice movie to watch. I don't mind popping it in again. I'll probably just skip over the big cringe moments and just sit and watch the segments that I like to watch. So yeah. I could say that's probably one of the Christmas specials I like to watch now. And I guess I would just call that call this an episode. I was going to go into like what tradition. Oh well, I guess I have a small time to talk about it. I was going to end it, but I think I'll just end it with this little small tradition I like to do. I don't know who wants to do this or ever thought about doing this, but it's kind of like a thing to where it only should happen for one, if you're old enough to believe that Santa is not real. So, sorry kids, if you're listening to this, I don't know why you would, but if you are listening to this, sorry to spoil that for you. And two, you must be able to stay up late enough to be able to have this happen, which is honestly not a hard thing to do. So, all right. So you're gonna hear a train, and I do apologize for that. But here's a little tradition I kind of wanted to do. That I've been doing a couple of years, but I kind of been wanting to do it a lot. So what I would do is wait until midnight from where I was. I mean, I lived in the Central Time. I'm in Texas, so my midnight would have been 1 a.m. over there at the Eastern Time, and probably 2 hours beforehand in the Pacific. But I was in the Central Time, so at midnight, I would pick one present. I'd pick one present, and I would open it up, see what it was, and if it was a good present, I would stay up a lot longer and try that present out. If it was a decent present, or a present that didn't require any like interaction with it, then I'll be like, awesome, that'll be nice. And then I put that particular present up, and then I will go to sleep and wake up and open up the rest of my presents in the morning. So yeah, that's the type of tradition I like to do. I like to, at midnight, open one present, just one. Only one present to see how your luck is. It's kind of like a weird gotcha type mentality. It's like all these presents, you pick one and see if you got the lucky present to help you either stay up a lot longer or just have a little bit more fun. Just get the big present out of the way. But yeah, I don't know if people want to try that out or if people have already tried it out. But if you had that type of tradition, let me know. Also, if you have any other traditions that you do on Christmas, let me know. And on that note, hope you guys have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, Happy Holidays, and a very, very safe New Year coming up in 2021. We've been through a lot of stuff. We've been hurt. We've been confused. We've been mind boggled. And throughout those times, I know most of us wanted to kind of like put an end to this, but we know it's not going to be put to an end right away. We just have to make sure to just try to tackle it as best as we can and not rush things and overthink things, and just be able to find out what's more important, you know? and just make life the way you want to, at your own pace. So, yeah. Okay, that is going to be it for the podcast episode. Make sure to give it a like on the YouTube. This is actually recorded it on Christmas Eve. So on Christmas Day, just again, wish you all a Merry Christmas, a safe holiday, rest of the year, and yeah, that's all I gotta say. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, and be safe, everyone.